good, Chris? Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call the Merrimack Valley School Board February 9th, 2026 meeting to order. Could you call the roll call, please, Candy?
Tracy Bricky.
Here.
Sally Hirsch Dickinson.
Here.
Tom Liberty.
I'm here.
Melissa Muzzy.
Here.
Jessica Wheeler Russell.
Here.
Laura Vincent.
Here.
David Nesbitt.
Here.
Julia, Julia's not here. Stacy Jarvis is here. Lorna Carlisle.
Here.
And Amanda York.
Here.
Thank you. Could you all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
If you just drag the image to the, I think I can download it.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the January 5th, 2026 school board meeting, please?
So moved.
Moved by Jessica Wheeler Russell, seconded by David. Sally has sent in her suggested edits. Candy, you got them? So any other discussion that's not grammatical? Because we have Sally for that. Okay, then, all those in favor of the minutes from January 5th, 2026, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, finance report, Sam?
Thank you. So before I get to the report that's in the packet, just a couple of updates from questions that have arisen. So one is about the deficit from the fund balance. So we recently received the 24-25 audit. And so we started 24-25 about $1.3 million of a deficit. So we're in the hole. We finished at just over $1 million. So we're able to shave off about $283,000 off the deficit for the 24-25 fiscal year. When I looked into the finances up to this date, so through January 31st of last year, we had about 5.4% of our budget remaining. This year, we have 11.2% of our budget remaining. You can't really compare dollars because the total budget amounts are different. And I looked at past years to compare that. So in 23-24, we had about 8.4%. Before that, we had about 16% each of the previous 2 years. So what that means is we're in better financial shape currently to absorb more of the deficit than we were last year. So when I caution, it's just February, okay? But we are looking in better shape than that. Another piece, and I spoke to Tom earlier today, and I spoke to Bill Hines because he had the question from Wednesday night about revenue. So because we took the $710,000 off the expenditure side of our budget, we're going to have to do the same thing in revenue. So that will come off. So the revenue adjustments have already been made on the website for the tax rate calculator. So folks who want to investigate, they can certainly go on there and find that out. Before I get to the finance report, are there any questions on the couple of things I just said?
Sam, could you just explain, because we did, and I appreciate you today, could you just explain what that means as far as the deficit, as kind of how we pay that back?
Yeah, so basically, whatever we don't absorb kind of gets rolled over into the following fiscal year. So we begin our fiscal year in a deficit, essentially. It's not that we aren't paying our bills or stuff like that. It does work differently than household finances. So it's really trying to keep it as simple as I can. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Now to the reason why I'm actually supposed to be speaking, the financial report. So there are the same lines are highlighted as they were before. Mm-hmm. The first one for contracted paras and professionals for 1210 function, it's increased about $2,600 since last month's report. The 1211 function has been no change, and nor should that change moving forward. The 2162 function actually has decreased by $6,200, so we're at a deficit of $12,050. We're at $18,250 last month. Again, because remember, there are encumbrances that it's based on. It's not actual funds that we have paid currently. The last one is the 2490 function, which is for graduation, and it centers around renting the tents for MV high school graduation and then the middle school's Pride Night, and there's no change to that. There won't be any change unless before we rent them, the tent company gives us a different estimate, which I don't believe they will.
So I need a motion to accept the financial report from Sam.
Can I just ask a question? And I-
Can we have a motion?
Sure.
And then you can still ask a question.
I'll
Motion
do it.
by Tom, seconded by Lorna. Thank you. Tom?
I don't know if you know the answer, and Fred's not here, but we have about, I'm going to say $330,000 in there in either site and building. Do you know what we're looking to do? Because that's been a big piece, the CIP stuff. Do you know what we're looking to do with that the rest of the year?
Really, it's just taking care of the day-to-day maintenance is what it is. He's kind of holding off on any project with the money, depending on where we look at later on, late spring. If it looks like if we took that money and used it to absorb the deficit, then I think that's the avenue we're going to go, based on my conversations with Fred.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions?
Were the,
Amanda?
just curious, were the tent rentals sent to bid, like to see if we could bring the cost down?
There are basically two local companies, and one of them no longer has the giant tents that we need, where the staff, not where the staff is, where the band is, and then the patrons are. So really, there's only one that has that size.
Other questions? So the motion is to accept the financial report from Sam. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okey doke. Good news. Good news was in the digital packet for review. Oh, I did, didn't I?
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's do public comment now, before we do good news. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you. I think I'm speaking to revolving revenue. I assume that's Article 7 of the warrant that I'm speaking to, that appeared on the warrant on Wednesday night. And I assume, based upon what I heard the other night, that you're going to talk about that at the meeting tonight. So there'll be some discussion on that. I guess I wanted to give a little bit of input. And I'm very confused at the appearance of that article, and it not having traveled through the 11 Finance Committee meetings. It seems like it's a financial thing, and it should have come up at any of the Finance Committee meetings prior to this meeting. So I'm just confused at its appearance suddenly, and I don't support that article. I assume, though, that the board will need to sign off on that article. I mean, I assume it's the administration that put it there, and that the board will need to sign off, and that'll be what the discussion is primarily about tonight. So it's my,
Thank you, Bill.
my comments.
I just want to add on to what Bill
Your
said.
name?
Dan Nudd, Webster. Thank you, Tracy.
Sure, no
I just
problem.
want to add on to what Bill said. We had a taxpayer at the budget meeting that came up that wanted to talk about a warrant article, this warrant article, number 7. I say it has to do with money. Let's say it doesn't. The answer was we're not going to talk about it because it didn't have to do with money. There shouldn't be a warrant article that we don't discuss. It's our one chance a month before our annual meeting to ask all our questions. We can go home to research, figure out what we need to do. Do we support it? Don't we? I came tonight to hear what it's about. But I think in future, if it's on the warrant, if it's a warrant article, we need to talk about it at the budget. That's, I think skipping over it was wrong.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Other comments for public comment about the agenda items? Okay. Next, we can go to good news. Sorry about that. Thank you, Julie. Good news. We have a report from PES. And is there anything that anybody wants to say about the digital packet before we have a report from PES? Okey doke.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everybody. I am Jen Moore. I'm the principal of Pennacook Elementary School, and I am joined by our counselor, Melinda Frayne, assistant principal, Michael LaChapelle, and I also have Nancy Kimball, who's sitting over there in the crowd that we're going to be referencing tonight, so welcome, Nancy. So Nancy works in our Student Support Center. And tonight we're here just to talk to you a little bit about our tiered systems of support. So just a little bit of history here. We started in 22 to really look at our student data and what that looked like in terms of students who were struggling to come to school, to actually be in school, and it seemed that the social emotional aspect was a highlight for us, and it was causing a lot of students to not be able to attend class. This growth right here just shows where we started. It's 6% our initial year, and that wasn't because we didn't have systems in place. It was just that we had lots of different things in place, and things were not working together. And so when we took this fidelity inventory in 21-22, it really opened our eyes to some of the things that we needed to do. We got our Tier 1 team together in 22-23, and just in doing that, we jumped to 59%. And as you can see right now, we are at 81% in terms of our overall growth. So we've definitely have a very strong Tier 1 team, and our Tier 1 team is really focused on universal supports for students, for all students, so that we can make sure that students know what's expected in our school. If you come to Pennacook, they will all every staff member and student will tell you what it means to be safe, respectful, and responsible in every aspect. So one of the things that we really started to do was dig into our data. When we had a Tier 1 team, we then started to look at our data. So if you look at the first triangle, that is a gold standard triangle. That is what school data is supposed to look like. So 80% of students should be successful with our Tier 1 interventions. 15% of our students need a little bit more. They need some different Tier 2 interventions, and then 5% require a higher level of support than that, normally involving special ed support. So this is our reality. This is our triangle. So we have done a lot of work, and it's showing. So we have a lot to be proud of here, because 82% of our students are being safe, respectful, and responsible. They have safe, respectful, and responsible behavior consistently, which is wonderful. But if you take a look at our top tier, you can see that our red triangle is much larger than it should be. And our Tier 2, our yellow section of the triangle is very small, which means that we do not have, that we need to focus on our Tier 2 interventions so that we can catch kids there, so they're not needing those higher level interventions that we're seeing. So that is what we're here to talk to you today about, is our Tier 2 interventions. This is just another thing I wanted to show you to kind of celebrate the work that we've done. So it just shows that we started 3 years ago at 73.6 6% of our students. So that was like 26% of our students were needing either tier 2 or tier 3 interventions. And it was busy. It was really busy. And so you can just see that as the years have progressed, are now, again, back at 82.4%. So we're actually exceeding the benchmark right now. But again, we have work to do in our tier 2 and tier 3. Before I hand the mic over to Melinda to talk about our first tier 2 intervention, I just want to show, kind of put in perspective why we're doing this. We have 22.5% decrease in office referrals, which is huge. And what that looks like when we're talking about time gained back for both students and teachers, 5,960 minutes, which is 99 hours, we're giving back to students. They're in the classroom. They're learning. They're with their teachers and their peers where they should be. And then 4,470 minutes we've gained back as a staff. So that's administrators, counselors, all of the time that we were putting into managing student behavior is now being put in different places where we're able to support learning, and we're able to work with teachers and do what we need to do there. So that's something to also really highlight. I'm going to pass it over to Melinda.
So as Jen shared, our data was showing that our tier 1 systems were working, that the majority of our students were demonstrating safe, respectful, and responsible behavior, which were the standards we put forth in the tier 1 team at Pennacook. But it also showed us that we needed to put some time focusing on the internal and external indicators that showed students who might need some additional supports in addition to the universal systems we had in place. The goal is that if we detect those needs earlier, we can intervene earlier, providing a more efficient system. Students at the tier 2 level, research shows, can be successful with group and systemic interventions instead of an individualized plan, helping us to use our resource more effectively. So we worked to develop our tier 2 team. We wanted the team to be about 8 to 10 people and to have diverse needs with different perspectives to represent our population. We were also looking for individuals that came with expertise in understanding the internal and external factors that impact elementary students' behavior. We wanted to make sure that the group could effectively look at student needs and quality interventions while also being passionate about this work, because it is definitely time-consuming and a lot of effort to develop tiered systems. So our Pennacook team includes administration, counselors, the behavior specialist, classroom teachers, special educator, and the school nurse. So typically, we meet once a month. Sorry. In front of all you special people, I need my notes. We typically meet once a month for about 45 minutes. Our initial work last year was to focus on developing the systems to include identifying our goals, the roles and the responsibilities of each team member. We then used the information that we had at our fingertips, academic grades, attendance, nurses' visits, behavioral data, to help us identify some of the needs of the Pennacook students and further what evidence-based practices would help us to further support them. As we have moved in our growth of our tier 2 work, we have discussed the possibility of needing bi-weekly meetings. One meeting would look specifically at our interventions and the fidelity of which they are being implemented, as well as if they are achieving the desired outcomes we had set forth. We also plan to look at how the tier 2 systems we develop complement and flow with the systems we had already previously done before developing this tier 2 team. We like to call that meeting our business meeting. The second meeting we are looking to place will look more closely at student progress to allow us to make quick adjustments if necessary to ensure their success. I'm going to pass it over to Mike to talk specifically about our student of concern process that Pennacook has had in place for over 5 years.
Thank you. The student of concern process is actually fairly unique to what, in my experience, I've seen at elementary schools. Basically, teachers have the opportunity to fill out a Google form to talk about specific students and their concerns that they may have. Based on those concerns, various members will be invited to the initial meeting. So this could mean that there'll be guidance, there could be social worker there, potentially a specialist such as OT, PT, or speech, and then the administration and whoever else may be, someone who knows that student. The team at that point looks at data. They look at the various academic aspects, behavioral aspects, attendance, nurses' visits, and things like that, and try to make a determination of what potentially could be the issue or the struggle that's happening for the student within the classroom environment. Once the team has kind of mapped that all out, there's discussion what the next stage is going to be or potential interventions. And these interventions truly are unique for every single kid. I think we've had, I don't even know how many meetings this year, but there are no two systems exactly the same for students. Once the team has come up with that, put it in place, for example, there may be some kids who are having some type of intervention where they're having math in the morning, or they may have some reading extra afternoon. We've done a lot of things to vary it quite a bit for that student. We come back anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to review, to see if those changes are occurring, and to see if there's been any progress for that student. Sorry if I speak fast, I apologize. One of those pieces, which has been exceptionally important, is the Student Support Center. And with the Student Support Center, this gives students the opportunity to have a check-in point, a person, or an individual basically, to kind of help work with them on developing their own skills of self-regulation. And Ms. Kimball does an amazing job. She has between 9 and 10 students per day that come down for about 10 minutes per block. Some students come 2 or 3 times based on their needs, but typically you'll find that when you ask the students what they want to do or why they go there, it is to have that positive structure and that one-on-one time. Many of our students would like to earn that time. It's an opportunity for them to have that independent and very special attention that's given to them. What we found is many times these students do try to take back those regulation, self-regulation skills they have to the classroom environment. And Ms. Kimball works with the teachers to make sure they know what those potential self-regulation techniques are.
So our behavioral data has shown that students who have access to student support have had a reduction in externalizing behaviors. But let's face it, charts can be pretty boring at this time of night. So we thought that hearing some student testimonials would help demonstrate the true impact of this tiered intervention. So since seeing Mrs. Kimball, I go to the office less. And I don't like going to the office, said one kindergartner. A second grader reported, there's a bunch of stuff to calm you down. You can relax, play a game, or sit back and talk. And one of my personal favorites from a first grade student, I like the breathing ball and the big purple beanbag. They help me sit calmly. And I said, well, how does that help you in the classroom? Well, I've learned to do the same thing in the class without my ball, showing that there is a generalization of behaviors and different things that they're learning and processing and doing with Mrs. Kimball into that classroom. So Mrs. Kimball, though, is truly the key to it all. Each of those students that we recommend the Student Support Center with, while they might have some individual things they're working on, they are looking for a trusted adult. They are looking for connection, and Nancy does that hands down amazingly. And it is showing in all of our data that the students that are with her are performing better. When seeking some of the students to get these testimonials, there was one little girl who can sometimes shut down and go like this. And this is their lack of words depiction of what does student support mean to them. Queen, Mrs. Kimball. So thank you, Mrs. Kimball, for all you do to help those students at PES. I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Moore. Yeah, Nick, I saw that. Let's give it to
Just one more slide, I promise. So I just wanted our next Tier 2 intervention that we are putting in place, and we are on the heels of putting this in place, so we're going to be doing this pretty quickly. We're going to be doing what's called a check-in, check-out, which is an evidence-based practice that, again, provides that that daily touch for students, so they're able to be meeting with a trusted adult during the day. This really just shows that feedback loop so that you can see what happens. So a student will have a morning check-in with a mentor. They will get a daily progress sheet. That daily progress sheet will go with them to the classroom. They'll go to, their teacher will give them regular feedback throughout the day based on their schedule. They'll take that to their afternoon checkout with their same mentor. The mentor will only highlight positive things that happened in that student's day. This is meant to, we're not talking about anything negative with this. This is only positive. That checkout sheet goes back home to the parents. The parents are able to see how the student did. Again, we have conversations with families before we do this to make sure that they too are only emphasizing the positive things that happen. We're going to take care of that in data monitoring. When we see where a student, how many points a student is getting in a particular day, we as the team will either up that or we'll do what we need to do so that that student can find success. And then finally, they'll just continue in this feedback loop until the Tier 2 team has an opportunity to look at that student's data and plan accordingly. So those are our Tier 2 interventions, and we're really hoping to see our triangle change. More green, less red.
Or yellow. Yellow. More yellow. Our green is already over the top. Green is good.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
So I'm just wondering, so it addresses both academic and also behavioral issues, or?
So our Tier 2 team is really looking at the social, emotional, behavioral issues. The student of concern team that has been in place for 5 years looks at academic, social, emotional, behavioral. So when I said at some points we have to see how what we had kind of implements, so we're not double working, that's some of the work we still have to do. But we didn't want to get rid of something that was working efficiently, or was working, until we had any more efficient stuff in place.
I have a question. Thank you. That was super informative. I appreciated it. I have a question for Mike's slide, the student of concern slide. In step 1, when you send the staff referral, do you inform parents at this step? And do you invite them to the meeting in step 2 where you review the data?
So typically, oh, sorry. Thank you, sorry. Typically what happens is the classroom teacher, if they're usually the one who makes the referral, will inform the parents. There's not, we don't have parents come to the step 2 piece because we're kind of figuring out what that could be at that point. If something is put in place as far as, for example, a student's going to have tutoring, we would talk to the parents, make sure it was okay, and we'd have a discussion about those potential interventions at that point. But the step 2 really is more of us trying to figure out what do we have available, what resources can we use. And the team has amazing knowledge, a lot of our students, of the history behind it, so they can even tell you, we've tried this or this has not been used in the past.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So you've come a long way, 6% to 81%. Oh, I'm sorry. You've come a long way, 6% to 81%, so congratulations. Do you know what your 3-tiered triangle looked like when it was at 6% as far as at least the red?
I can tell you what it felt like.
So I think that when we started this, we also started collecting Swiss data at the same time. So we were collecting office referrals, but we didn't have Swiss, which is a system that we use to do that. So we really, but it was definitely
A lot higher.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You stole my mic. I don't really have a question, but I do have a perspective as a parent, if you don't mind. I have had the pleasure of having both of my children go through PES from kindergarten. Now my eldest is in high school, and actually Miss Kimball was with my then kindergartner, who's in, the middle school right now, since he was for reading. And she is a treasure. And I just want to say that all of this work from the parents' perspective is very communicative, and it's amazing to see the work and the results at home with your student as they go through, if they're in the Tier 2 process. seeing the success that can come from this, and I'm very glad to see that this presentation happened. And I have had very, very good experiences with this for the last few years. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. It's a lot.
Any other questions? So I just want to also just give a shout out to Becky Kennedy, who has been behind us all the way. Like, she's really been a huge resource and an invaluable one. So I just want to say thank you for all the work she's done.
Yeah, Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you. You got it? Okay. Thank you very much for Pennacook Elementary School. That was wonderful, really and truly wonderful. So, Nick and Silas.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about that.
I wasn't checking my email.
Starting off light, all the elementary schoolers had fun in the snow that we recently had, as I'm sure some of you did, or if you're like me, you had fun shoveling it. Pennacook Elementary School is starting a Penny War event from February 16th to the 19th, where students are encouraged to donate money to help raise funds for the school's library. In a short summary, the students want to donate cash and pennies into their own buckets to boost their points, while using silver coins to sabotage the other grades, and with the grade that wins the most points winning an ice cream party. So that's fun. Pennacook is also participated in the Read Bowl, which is a nationwide contest that connects reading with football and lasted for the last 4 weeks of football season. The Salisbury kindergartners and first graders celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day by making their own leaves for a quote-unquote peace tree to celebrate peace, kindness, and community. Salisbury and Webster, second and third graders, had a trip to Smitty's Cinema, where the second graders watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, while the third graders watched the BFG. Moving on to the middle school, 16 7th and 8th graders from MV in Andover attended the Leaders in Prevention Weekend program at Camp Cody in Freedom, New Hampshire through the NH Teen Institute. While there, the students learned about school climate and community involvement to bring back to their schools through workshops and activities. On January 16th, the MVMS 6th graders celebrated their success with the tissue drive through their rightfully earned popcorn and movie afternoon. The National Junior Honor Society started the new year off strong by helping collect the wreaths they previously laid out at the Veterans Cemetery. Now I'm handing the mic off to Nick.
Alrighty, so one of the best events that happens here at the high school that I always look forward to is the Unified Basketball games. Of course, we have a few of them at home every winter. So the last Unified Basketball game took place last Monday. It was a great game accompanied by great stand tunes from the Tri-M members who came and had a little pep band. I don't know if you saw it on the front cover of the Concord Monitor. I'm sure you did, but we had, I believe, 5 schools come and join us for a little end-of-the-year tournament. It was our second ever. We did it last year for the first time. A select few from the high school band and chorus got to take part in the Lakes Region Music Festival on January 17th, where they go for a day. This year it was at Plymouth High School. They went up there, learned music, and got to perform it at the end of the day. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. here at the cafeteria will be the 4th Annual Chocolate Festival. It's always a great night. We have little performances, both like instrumentals and vocals. So that'll be 6 o'clock next Wednesday. It's kind of like a little cafe vibe. It's very chill. You can buy chocolate and just enjoy a bunch of music from our performers. The Getting to Y group at the high school, alongside the Capital Area Public Health Network, is putting together a Screenagers movie night next week, February 12th, from 5:30 to 7:30. It'll be a free community screening of the documentary Screenagers Next Chapter, followed by a youth-led discussion from the Getting to Y student group. The Scholastic Art Awards program is the nation's longest-running and most prestigious recognition program for creative teens. 4 of our amazing artists have received Scholastic Art Awards this year, including our students Juliette Blunt, Serena Goodwin, Abigail Carey, and Jaden Taylor. A total of 10 awards were earned between the 4 of them, 2 of which were portfolio submissions. The artwork will be exhibited at Pinkerton Academy, and an award ceremony will be held in February. I believe on the front of your packet you saw the artwork, so make sure you look at that. Last but not least, before I get to Hadestown, Merrimack Valley High School is proud to recognize our football program for being named a recipient of the 2025 New Hampshire Football Officials Association Sportsmanship Award. So all of the referees come together and kind of vote for one school that they think did very good at sportsmanship, and we were able to win that. You should have got an email. I know a few people already got it. That has the link to buy tickets for Hadestown, our spring musical. Again, those dates, March 26th and 27th at 6:30, as well as Saturday, March 28th. We'll have a matinee at 1:30 and then an evening show at 6:30. Along with that email that you guys got is also the poster. So you can take that poster if you'd like to print it and hang it up at places, or if you want to put it on your Facebook page, or you can put it on the community pages, different things like that. Because the theater department is mostly self-funded. The teachers, our advisors, do get paid from the budget, but we use whatever we make from ticket sales to go into our next show. So it's very important that we get people to come out so that we can make sure that our theater program stays thriving. And I believe that link will also be on the website for anyone that did not get the email. Or you can ask me, and I can get it to you somehow. And we have a few jokes. These were Valentine's Day related. Where do you find love in a grocery store? I'll be there for you.
When should you ask someone out on a coffee date? When you like them a latte.
That's all we got.
Probably just as well.
You know the joke's good when you laugh before you can hit the punchline. I just want to confirm the date for the chocolate event. Is that the 18th, Wednesday the 18th, next Wednesday?
Yes.
Thank you.
For those of you that are new, the Chocolate Festival is so fun. It's good. Just saying. Next, we'll go to committee reports. So the Ad Hoc Streaming Committee is the first one, and the minutes are in your packet. Jess?
Yep, so we met on January 12th to discuss some of the requests for information, which we had asked, maybe a cost estimate. And it is rough, as Randy, informed us, because not a lot of other districts do this kind of thing, who don't have access to like town streaming or media. So some of these cost estimates were, adding new devices around $3,000. And this would be for adding it to the SAU, since that's where we hold a lot of our meetings. Video and audio solutions is about $12,600, with a rough estimate of $15,650. Adding microphones, and then possibly labor, as we do have a very, very small. I was very shocked to hear the number tech team, just given the amount of work that has to be done for district. And so, we would be discussing the possibility of opening up either extended hours or, that kind of thing. So, personnel, like overtime would be about roughly $52.50 an hour, or maybe a new position. position. So I think within that discussion that we were having, the committee was kind of looking more now from input, given the last 2 meetings we had from the board before we had our final meeting. So if you recall from the earlier meeting, which was, I'm trying to remember what date that was, November or October. At that point, there was some discussion about, the pros and cons, pros being folks would have access, whether or not, they had to get their kids to a basketball game, they could watch another time, and that kind of thing. The cons sometimes being the cost, the setup, and I don't know, Lorna, you have that sheet if you had another one, or do you remember any of the other ones you wanted to hit for pros and cons? Lorna's been a real lifesaver.
Just because it's in that other building, I mean, that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah,
challenge.
a lot of the challenges, communication within the meetings from public can be intimidated, that kind of thing. So given these couple of items that we've discussed, I would like to know how folks are feeling about this. The plan is not to have another meeting until after annual meeting. So just keep that in mind. So I would open the floor for any kind of questions or comments or anything like that.
Amanda?
Do any of our elementary schools or the middle school have these accommodations already in place?
I cannot answer that question. Do you know if there's streaming or video?
No, they do not.
Yeah, usually for Pennacook, I know at least we have to get Concord TV in. So, but the other one's probably not either. Mm-hmm.
We don't have Concord TV in the other communities.
Nope. Nope. Oh yeah, and that's already been off the table right along. Concord TV is not available. They're usually doing either, like right now, there's a council meeting, or we tend to have our meetings during when like Concord School District is having theirs. So yeah, they're like right out.
Jess, did you guys talk about those little owls you can put in the middle of a meeting that circle around with a voice?
No, can you elaborate on what that is?
Yeah, so it's, I know that I was on a committee with the Department of Ed, and we projected via Zoom. And it's just a little device that sits in the middle of a table, and when it hears a voice, it circles around to the voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can project at the same time. I don't know if you guys looked into it or not.
No, smaller. I know that not specifically that technology. I also did reach out to some of the towns, mainly Webster, to give a shout out to the selectmen, about like how they manage to stream and or record their meetings on a less expensive scale. But I think that that's an interesting thought, and I wrote it down.
And
to
I
kinda
believe
look it
that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually, yes, we did look into that.
Oh, thank you.
And what was the cost of them?
I don't have the quotes
Okay.
in front of me right here for that like particular device, but that was one of the because that is something that's used quite frequently in our schools.
I stand corrected then. I didn't. Was that part of this cost estimate that was from Randy, or is it a different one?
You know what? I would want Randy to answer
That's
that because I'm not
fine.
100% sure on that, but I know that that's a pretty common product.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Has
move
some nice
forward,
features.
your next meeting maybe is something you guys talk
Mhm.
about.
Does it just do sound, or does it have a camera that also, so when it
Both.
focuses on, okay,
Both.
so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any questions for Jess? Okay, then we'll go on to policy. Policy met January 12th and February 2nd. The minutes were in the packet, along with a gazillion policies. IC, school calendar, IKFG, career exploration, readiness, pathways, and credentials, and IKF, graduation policy and academic requirements. Those are the three that need to be voted on today, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you have 3 in your packet that are in there for a first read.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get those off the list in case there's any questions, the IHCD, which is advanced coursework, that is in the packet for a first read. Most of the suggestions that were made by policy were cosmetic in terms of punctuation. He, she became they, their, they, them. And then policy JEB was the age of entrance was also added as a first read. We have, sorry, I have two different sets of notes because we had two meetings. And then we also had policy JICK, which was public safety and violence prevention. It's a bullying policy. That is also in your packet for a first read. There was some correction or addition from legislation, but again, mostly cosmetic changes. JICK, yes.
Thank you.
Yep. We are also, just for heads up, looking at BEDG at our next meeting. We did start looking at that. It's about meeting minutes, but we will be reviewing that at our next meeting. So the policies that we have in our packet for a second read, different list. We have policy IKF, which is, sorry, 1 second. The graduation. Sorry, what I had on my note was not the title of the policy, so I was like, wait a minute, that's not the title of the policy. Yes, this was our graduation policy. We did update it to reflect the credits for the 2030 graduates. And obviously, there's more columns on it. So it's a little busier right now, but that will eventually, like the stuff from previous years will start to come off as we move forward with graduation years. So that is in the packet for voting.
We saw it
You saw it back last month.
last month.
And the month before that, I feel like we brought some stuff.
And Mr. St. Ange spoke to it.
Yes, yep, and it was already spoken to, so.
Thank you.
And we did not get any other updated feedback on that one. Then we have policy IKFG, just making sure I had the acronym right because we had it wrong on the policy. This one is for the career exploration readiness pathways and credentials. This is a new policy for us, and we wanted to make sure that we documented the CTEs and the work that we're doing around career readiness. There were minor changes based on the school board recommendations. So this one is also up for adoption. I couldn't think of what it was called. Been a long day. All right. And we have policy IC, which is up for the second read, which is the school year and school year calendar. And we didn't receive any updated feedback from anybody beyond what we had gotten at the previous meeting. This policy would also look at us sunsetting policy ICA because everything is included in this one policy going forward. And I think those are the only three. Yes, those are the only three, but there was a lot of information in them. We can vote on them individually, or we can vote on them as a slate, depending on if there are questions on any of them individually. Yes.
May I ask a question? Was JEB one that we were going to vote on today? Or
No.
feedback?
No.
Okay, so you voting on, are you doing second reads first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Everything, we are trying to do second reads on policies based on recommendations, so,
Amanda?
yes.
I read the minutes from the meeting, from the policy meeting about IKF and my concern at the last meeting. I still stand strongly that right now privacy is assumed and not written into the policy. I do understand that these go through TIDE. I don't see the harm in writing this in the policy, stating it clearly so that families know their students' information is protected. There remains no reference to student privacy protections or that it's sent through TIDE. It's not even stated that it's sent through TIDE, or it doesn't reference any other district policy that governs how data is shared. So my recommendation would be under the paragraph where it starts with RSA 189. You could add 2 words to the end of that statement and just say that it's sent to the New Hampshire Department of Education via TIDE.
Can't find that one in my pile.
It's actually on the second page. It's the
Under passage
fourth.
of civics exam. Yeah.
Right, it's the fourth.
To make this, I
But
guess,
that, It's the fourth paragraph down. That would, so page 2, IKF,
IKF, yeah.
page 2, fourth paragraph, starts under RSA 189:11, Roman numeral 2. The superintendent will submit the composite results of either the locally developed civics competency assessment or the U.S. citizenship test to the New Hampshire Department of Education. It's only talking about the civics exam.
But isn't that sent via Tide as well?
Yeah, they all are, but
It is, but this is actually the first year that it's been required that it be submitted through Tide. The systems that the standardized testing are done through the state frequently change, as are the tests that are administered. But yes, currently it is through the Tide system that we would submit that information.
And to avoid doing addendums in the future, could we just say that we're following the privacy? This just gives no indication that that's even a thought, that privacy is a thought.
Amanda, for those who don't know what Tide is, could you please explain it?
It's just a system managed by New Hampshire. It's a test information. It stands for Test Information Distribution Engine.
I'm going to just make this align with our practices. I'm going to make a motion that we approve IKF, and I'll take so we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
Yeah, so we'll go through them one at a time because this one obviously has some more discussion on it. So I'll take a motion to,
Why don't we go with, start with policy IC? That's how it's written in the, in the agenda.
Totally fine.
So can we get a motion to accept policy IC, school calendar?
How about I will amend, because I made a motion, I will amend my motion to discuss IC.
Thank you.
Calendar. Do you approve? Okay.
So that was policy IC.
There's
Motion made by Jess, seconded by Sally. Thank you. Any discussion on school calendar? Okay, all those in favor of policy IC, the school calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, perfect. Next.
We have to sunset, yes.
So I will make a motion that we sunset ICA.
And Sally will second that also, sunset ICA. And the reason we would sunset is because what's in IC was in ICA. So ICA is no longer needed. Any discussion about sunsetting ICA? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next would be IKFG. I'd like a motion to accept IKFG. Laura, David, thank you. That is career exploration, readiness, pathways, and credentials. Any discussion about those? Okay. All those in favor of policy IKFG, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And now I will make the motion that we approve
Thank you.
IKF.
And Sally will second it. Graduation policy and academic requirements. And we can go back to discussing.
Yes, thank you.
So I need to ask some questions about Tide. Tide is owned by the state, correct? And we just access through this?
So the state contracts with, Cambium and.
Oh, it's even a third party?
Yeah, so Tide is a system that's owned by, I believe it's Cambium. And that is how, right now, the state assessment system is administered.
Okay.
That is not how it was administered 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Right?
We switched from, yes, it was something else before it was Cambium. It's
It changes
similar,
frequently.
but whether the system or the test, something it feels like is often
Changing.
progressing.
I understand where you're coming from, Amanda, about, I just don't, about privacy, and I don't want anything leaked either. These have been set up, all of these policies have been set up through legal. So I would think that if that was going to be an issue, that would have already come out and it would already be in there. I don't know. That's just my thought. I don't know what anybody else thinks. Lorna?
The only concern I have is if you put this tied in this, and then you have to change the document if the state decides to contract with somebody else differently. So, I mean, if we could keep it more generic, or are we going to just have to rewrite this every time?
We have the data governance, don't we?
Yeah, we have a data governance manual. We also have, so there's the state of New Hampshire also has data privacy protections. So whenever we're using these sort of resources, they have to go through that. My concern, and I know I voiced this last time, is we would be guaranteeing a level of protection that we are not in control of. It's not a system that we manage, but it's one that we are required by the state to use. So I'm just reluctant. A concern I would have is that we're putting something in here that isn't within our control.
Would it be fair to state that you're submitting the data via a required state system and just ensure that it ensures the privacy?
But still, that's not our system. So that's
using the
where
required system. Could we state that maybe?
But it's yeah. So that's, I mean, I come back to the same concern, but it's really the board's
And
decision.
so instead of saying like required through TIE, just saying required system.
It talks about passage of the civics exam. It talks about the superintendent will submit the composite results. So to me, that kind of covers at least a small part of we're not identifying individual students, we're protecting their privacy.
No, we are, I mean, student information is submitted to the state confirming that X student passed the civics assessment. Right. And that is part of a required state law.
Results, okay. It's not the composite results of the test, though.
Like the results of, so when the test is administered and those results, the state pulls them through TIDE, they take all of them at once, and maybe that's the intention.
Information.
There is, yeah, I mean, student information is shared with the state. There is a degree of student information that is shared with the state when you attend a public school.
Sally?
So I'm pretty much just going to reiterate what I think Catherine is saying, which is that were we to codify something within our district policy regarding protection of student data, which is in fact, there are policies which govern this outside of this policy, and as Catherine has pointed out, we are not in control of this system. It seems to set us up for legal liability, which I would want to avoid at all costs. So, seeking to, codifying this within the policy puts us at legal risk of something that we cannot control. So I would rather leave that to the state.
Amanda, did you want to make an amendment?
To the policy?
To the motion? Jess's motion is to accept it as written. Oh.
No, sorry.
Oh, I thought I did something. Sorry.
In response to Sally's concern, I agree, right? That's a fair statement. Why can we not put in here that we are sending this through the state's system? He's not sending it in an email. Which most of, some people understand that clearly, but if you read this with a first-time student, there's no indication that this information is protected. I'm not saying that we're guaranteeing protection, but we're using like the state's required system to submit the data. I would.
I can talk about it a little bit. I think my concerns. So I do share. So I'm just skimming through some of these notes too. I do share some of these concerns about modifying the policy, and I will come from somebody who used to work for the state IT department. Okay. We had the subject to change, which I believe Catherine has kind of touched upon, can happen frequently and often with very little warning. And that means that for now, it could be tied. Tomorrow, it could be some other acronym. 3 years from now, it could be email, or it could be a FTP, or some other way of transmitting data. My concern with just codifying that is you're talking about going through and, first off, making sure that the state is going to be solid in their choices within the next 10 years, which I'm going to say is not going to be the case, not necessarily for this specific one, but they are subject to change often. Oh, we already have a data governance policy which covers our portion of this, of student privacy. And data privacy is critical to me, and I understand, the concerns about this. My other concern about adding this kind of information directly is, other than the legal liability, is I think kind of like what I was saying before with how frequently these things are subject to change, and we don't own it, right? Like if you're thinking about this, and I'm going to explain it, I think for folks at home who might, not quite know what we're talking about here, this system is like a door that we can't go through. The access that the admin or that we have in a district is just the internet access to connect to the system. Everything beyond that is owned by the state, and they control it. And it is very much subject to change. It is subject to their own data privacy, which is obviously governed. But I don't want to start modifying each and every policy that handles student data with saying asterisks whenever the state, whatever the state's doing, because it's challenging. All right. And I think if parents are genuinely concerned about data privacy, I would invite everyone to know that about once a year we update the data governance policy.
It is once a year.
Once a year.
The data governance manual.
Manual, thank you.
Yep.
Policy manual. Thank you for that.
And we do approve it every year.
Every year, that we are in compliance with the law, and that if they have privacy concerns, it's not that, that we are, like, the district is on it, and then that's all I'll really say about it.
Yeah, so I appreciate everybody's thoughts, and Amanda, I think you're right, and I think Catherine's right. And one thing I can say is maybe on the bottom of the policy, we could reference RSA 189:66. So RSAs are New Hampshire state laws that we are required to follow. And in that law, it states, the department shall develop a detailed data security plan. And in that plan, it must include privacy compliance standards. So I don't know if that would be helpful, if we could reference the RSA into the bottom of that, which I don't believe it's referenced right now.
It's not referenced.
It's not referenced because it wasn't recommended by the school board for that reference.
Yeah.
And we do have a policy,
Data governance.
yeah, EHAB that references the data governance manual as well. So we do have that policy that exists to support us following what we're supposed to be following. So again, this has been vetted through legal or through the attorney. So our school board association, as well as we always have attorneys when we're looking at some of those trickier ones. And that RSA was not included in the list of RSAs to include. So.
66, 189:66.
180, yeah.
And I will add,
189.
Amanda, like the schools, the state is also required to follow those
Yes,
data privacy.
100%.
So if we're not going to amend the motion, I'd like to take a vote on the motion
What's the motion?
to approve,
To approve.
to approve this.
As written.
As written.
I
It
would
is-
like to amend it to reflect either our privacy policy or Tom's recommendation.
Do you have a second? So
So if we do a second, then we would just vote on that, right?
we'd have to vote on that, we'd vote on the amendment, and then we would vote on the motion. So without a second, there is no motion. So the motion right now is to accept IKF as written. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Amanda, thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. Old business, we have none.
Can I just say something, just in case, I don't want to breeze by it, but I want to go back to really what Mr. Nudd said about,
Can we wait until,
as long as we can talk about warrants.
Yeah.
they're on the
Yeah.
new business.
and I'm-
They're under new business.
And I'm, okay, and I'm talking petition too.
Okay,
Yep.
they're on new business.
Thank you.
Well, yes and no. So Kathleen,
So in your packet, I'm sure you saw, we have another teacher, middle school reading teacher, Kelly Lewis, who has asked to rescind her notice of retirement, and she'd like to remain at Merrimack
she's having
Valley
so much
Middle
fun.
School. Just letting you know.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. So, open enrollment. I'm assuming that you have heard many things about open enrollment. I have been told, and I was told last week we were going to vote on it last Thursday, and we didn't. And I am told that we are voting this week to concur or non-concur with the Senate. So what that would mean is that, depending on which way it goes, open enrollment could be, the way that the law is written, that it could be mandatory for all school districts, although there is an awful lot of discussion about whether or not that is actually legal. So I asked to put open enrollment on the agenda because I still believe that, as with many districts already, I believe that we should have a warrant article we should put an article in our warrant that would restrict open enrollment. Open enrollment, and I'm speaking as me, okay? Open enrollment, I think, would be the detriment of many small districts. I think that we would find many small districts would be closing their doors. They would have to pay out an awful lot of money to send their children to districts where, and Tom can certainly say, where some districts don't want them to come, as Tom's superintendent has said on many occasions. So it was just a discussion about open enrollment, whether you would like to see an article, a warrant article, added to our warrant.
Can I speak to this? Do you want to speak to it, Catherine? Were you going to talk?
No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So the law right now allows us as a school district to accept a certain amount of students from other districts and to also restrict our kids from leaving our district. That would have to be a warrant that would be voted on by the town to either approve or not approve. Now, you can argue the pros and cons. I don't want to get there. But what's happening now is there's been kind of a speed rush to change that. As Tracy said, they were going to vote on it last Thursday, but it got moved to Wednesday. Am I correct, Tracy? That you
No,
guys-
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday of this week?
Yep.
Okay. So, and what that would do is it would not allow school districts to restrict, and it would require you to also accept students in your schools as long as you have capacity. And to my knowledge, unless it's changed, capacity has not been defined.
It has not.
Which I would assume would be class sizes and where you sit with those class sizes. So,
Oops, sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
No, I was just going to say, and that's been part of the issue too, Tom, is like when you say class size, are we talking class size what we have in our district or class size what the state says we should have? So there's a lot of things that aren't defined. You're right.
Sure.
Sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I'll finish real quick. But what that could mean is you take a look at our little schools, Webster and Salisbury, you got some grade levels there where you got 7 and 8 kids, and let's just call it 20, as a class size. You potentially could have kids come in from another school district, and we have no control over that if they come. And it may not be a bad thing if they come, but I'm just saying we would not be able to control that here as a school district. So those kids would come, and we would get 80 to 100, but they determine it would be 80% of, I believe it's our tuition. Am I correct on that? Or is it's our tuition?
No.
Our cost per pupil, our cost per pupil. Yeah. So if I'll just round up to 20.
It's 80% of the sending school.
Well, we beat.
And then
Isn't
the
it?
parents pay the difference, or the families would pay the difference between the two.
Yeah,
if
I
they're
That's it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
But
Thank you.
it would be somewhere in the vicinity of about $20,000 per kid if they came that we would get in revenue. But so I just want to make sure
And the other district would lose.
the other district lose it. And on the other side of that, the converse of that, if we had students leave our school district to, say, go to Concord or stuff, then we lose that money that now goes to Concord. So I think it's kind of hard to understand, and I don't know where this is going. So I'll just say this. I would agree with Tracy that we should have some type of a warrant that gives us control, even though on Thursday that warrant could be moot because of a new law.
I think I want to add that this current law, would be for literally this fall.
This fall.
So they're really
26,
pushing
27
through something
school year.
very, very fast that we cannot budget for right now, which
Right.
frustrates me entirely. I do have I have a lot of questions about what a warrant for open enrollment would look like for our district specifically. So I don't know if we want to procedural. Do we add an amendment? Do we add?
I think that
now?
Catherine has some language, what do I want to say? Some draft language, thank you, that we could use.
Yeah, I do have a draft warrant article I can share, but just to clarify the cost piece, it had been at the 80%. What it is now is the sending district pays their cost per pupil to the receiving district, and if there's an overage in the amount that so if the district you're sending to costs more per pupil than the one you're coming from, parents have to make up that difference. And something else to think about with capacity, which is undefined, and that's super concerning, is not only is it class sizes, but there's a very narrow set of reasons where we could restrict a student from coming here. And we potentially could have students that are coming here with significant needs and would, capacity may have to take into account the specialized services we are able to provide. It's just, the capacity piece is going to be a very a difficult thing. So should I read this?
Is I believe the only reason that we could say no to a student is if they've been expelled from their former school district.
And yeah,
Significant
disciplinary
behavior.
issues, and isn't chronic absenteeism one of them as well?
I think there was 4 of them.
Oh, was there?
There were the capacity, disciplinary issues, absenteeism, and I can't remember what the fourth is.
So would you like to, sure, I'm sorry, I interrupted again.
You're fine. So the draft, would you like me to share the draft warrant
Yes,
article
please.
language? So shall the Merrimack Valley School District vote to adopt an open enrollment school program designating the schools of Merrimack Valley School District as open enrollment schools pursuant to NHRSA 194D for the purpose of enabling the district to admit non-resident students to MVSD with 100% of its eligible resident pupils permitted to attend and 0% of its resident pupils permitted to attend open enrollment schools located outside of the district. And further, to limit the number of non-resident pupils who may attend Merrimack Valley School Districts under the provisions of RSA 194D to no more than 1% of the total enrollment in the Merrimack Valley School District.
Thank you for the printout.
So that would be about 20 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 kids in.
20 kids in.
I've already prepared some questions, but I think Lorna looks like you're trying to ask something.
Well,
Lorna, you have a question?
Well, just a quick question, because can it be just like one class that a student would want to take, or does it have to be a total?
No, they come for they become our students.
Okay, okay.
And that's another thing too. I mean, you could. Yeah.
Well, my biggest concern is this is a rush to
You
ram
can?
something through that they haven't thought
Oh.
through.
Oh, currently, yes.
That makes sense.
David?
One concern I have about this is the public is going to have virtually no time to even have much in the way of education on this unless they've been reading articles in the paper on it or are really closely following it. I think you're going to have a lot of folks at the March meeting who have absolutely no idea what this is really about.
That, yes, the Senate put this onto, the Senate made this a non-germane amendment, which means that it has nothing to do with what the original bill was all about, to a bill that we already passed through the House. So it did not allow for any public hearing time. Jess?
Yeah. So I have some questions
Uh-huh.
about this. So I do want to say, I think, Tom, you had a good question. You're saying about 20 kids in is what you were roughly
1%,
1%? Okay.
yeah.
If this were put forth to the voters and it passed, what does it mean for Andover tuition, and also what does it mean for the Learning Center tuition? Does this?
So we already have,
I shouldn't say tuition. I should say agreements. Not
those agreements are already in place.
okay. So the students with out-of-district placements to the Learning Center program, they wouldn't be reflected in the percentage that we would allow to come in. Is that what that means?
That's going to be.
I don't know. And I don't know that it's been.
Trying to get you a mic.
So I'm not 100% sure, but from my lens, a special ed placement would, to me, is separate. That's something that a district is recommending through the special ed process, completely separate from a parent choice. Yes.
So we would kind of think of those students as we are a receiving out-of-district school, right? So like not out-of-district as in the definition of open enrollment, but if we were to send a student to Spalding, like the similar thing, but instead they've chosen, okay. She said yes. Okay. So Andover, great. I asked that question. What does it mean for the Lakes Region Consortium that we entered into last spring, where we discussed allowing students to attend a school that participates in the consortium at as long as they stay 51% of the time within our district? Does that change anything?
Thank you.
It's not special ed.
Not the special ed one.
Never mind.
No. I was like, oh, okay. No, yes, what I mean is the Lakes Region 1,
Right.
which is separate from the special education agreement. So would that affect this at all? Like the way I would read it, but I'm a layman, is...
I mean, at this point in time, that agreement would continue to stand. I think as things unravel, I think, or unfold, I should say, I think that there will be.
No, I think unravel. I think unravel was the right word.
As things unfold, I can anticipate, depending on what direction it goes in, sort of a domino of effects that will have to be taken into consideration. But at this time, that would not be impacted, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I know, and I feel this. I think unraveled was a good choice of words. So I do I share the same concerns that David did, but I do want to ask, because would this have been a subject to discussion on our budget hearing night, because it's not technically a budget related item? So I just want to make sure I would have understood the process had we done this 3 weeks ago instead. Would we have discussed it with the public at that point in the hearing? This warrant specifically.
I think with the approach that we took this year, that it probably would have appeared in the slideshow.
Okay.
And information shared.
Okay.
But worth noting, like the development where the public doesn't have the opportunity to have their voice heard, that just happened.
Yeah,
Which is why this came up. Which is why I wanted it on the agenda.
I almost feel like this is a mini little arena of what most school districts are facing right now, because of the way that the state has made some decisions to, or as to say, the state legislature has made some decisions to Senate upend a lot of our budgetary process at the end of the process is concerning to me.
Yes.
And it's causing a lot of chaos even within this discussion, right? Because I would have liked to have had more time to sit with the question I had about the consortium, the Lakes Region Agreement, that kind of thing. So I just I have to say that, because this is bananas that we have to do this.
Amanda, and then Lorna.
I have a few questions. My first, I'd like to start with asking, we recently approved a new student to come to our district paying tuition. How does this affect them?
So if this were to pass, then they would be able to come here under open enrollment. And if our per pupil cost is higher than the district that they're coming from, the district would pay their per pupil, and the family would have to make up the difference.
But they were already planning on paying. And so nothing changes. They're still coming here. Nothing gets turned over from them.
And the they wouldn't have had to come to the school board to ask to come.
And so next year, Amanda, the parents wouldn't pay, the school district would pay, not us.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to say that, excuse me, a few days ago, I did ask for specifics on this prior to this meeting. I'm disappointed that this language wasn't shared in the packet. I think it would have been good for all of us to have a few minutes to process it instead of being handed it right now. I would like to discuss the sentence that it says, eligible resident pupils permitted to attend, and 0% of his resident pupils permitted to attend open enrollment schools located outside of the district. Why are we choosing 0% right off the bat without discussion?
Go ahead.
I think we can have discussion about it. I think that's actually what we are doing.
Okay.
But from a financial perspective, 0% is going to put the district in the most safe position, in the least position of financial liability.
Financially, I agree with you. Absolutely, right? That's the safest bet. But students first, I feel like we're doing our students a disservice by not allowing anyone to leave the district.
I guess I would make the argument that I think we provide a fantastic education for our students, and I think we can meet their needs here.
And if we're very confident in that, we shouldn't be putting us to 0. If we're very confident that we are providing the best education to students and can accommodate their needs, I feel like it doesn't look like we feel that if we're putting 0%.
So and I'm looking at it as totally financial. So Tom's committee, we met 11 times to discuss the budget, 11 times. And it was a lot of back and forth about the budget. And this new law, it could happen for next year, meaning the budget that we just came up with. We could have 5 kids leave to the tune of $100,000. We don't have an extra $100,000 in the budget. We spent a long time getting this budget to where it is now, where we are really confident that we are funding what needs to be funded. I don't want to send kids, I don't see it as saying I have no faith in our district that we're not going to allow any kids to leave. That's not what I see it. I see it as we are protecting the financial, protecting the finances of our district. So after Amanda was Lorna, and then Jess, then Dave. But Amanda's not done yet.
I just want to respond that, given, I think, I'm not going to say everyone, that's not safe to say because I don't have actual facts in front of me, but everyone here that I've spoken to or read about their statements say students first. And to me personally, this sounds like finances first and students second.
Thank you. Lorna?
I'm not sure if they've even thought about this, but I'm questioning, what about transportation costs?
On the parent.
Okay, so again, I feel like it's sort of like these vouchers. It's the same thing. Who's going to benefit from this? Because really, most parents are working. How are they going to get the kid to the other school district that they want to go to? And again, I just feel like now is not the time. We've worked hard on this budget. We can look at open enrollment later, but I really think it's another law that they're trying to pass without giving a lot of thought about it. They're just trying to ram it through, and then we're stuck with the budget consequences. And I'm sorry, but finances do have a lot to do with it.
Thank you. Jess?
Oh, did you?
Jess and then Dave.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I
wrote it down.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm looking at the map that the Cockermouth has been putting out recently, a series on this, which has been very good.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. I know you're there. And so I just want to give an idea of what other school districts in the area have done. We have Wilmot or Kearsarge exiting students 0.
That's what I was going to ask, if we could look at what other schools were
New
doing.
London exiting students, so Kearsarge exiting students 0 for New London. Springfield is in Kearsarge. And Warner, Newbury, Bradford, Pembroke also is at exiting students 0. Hopkinton and that area, they haven't made a decision yet. And it looks like some of the other towns around us have yet to discuss it, but I assume they would be very soon. Concord will be a little bit, because their voting takes place in November, and I don't know if they'd be subject to that either. So I wouldn't really expect much from Concord just yet.
CTE complicates.
And CTE complicates. They're a whole different ballgame. So I want to say that it looks like the larger regional districts in our area have opted to be, don't, like very much zero out, maybe 30 in, like that kind of number. And so I hear the idea of, school choice being students first, but Lorna actually hit on the thing that I wanted to also mention before I get to my actual question about this, which is I will be pretty blunt in saying that it would be the family with halves that would be the ones who could participate in this particular item. I will be open and say that it would be difficult, but I, being very privileged, could send my child to Concord and pay the difference. I am not reflective of most families in this district. And I feel like we would be doing a disservice by allowing kids to leave, taking those monies away from other students whose families cannot do that. And in the end, creating a kind of domino effect of losing services. Now, we're being a little bit more, I think, exploratory in this conversation, so I do kind of want to turn it back to the warrant language. If we bring this to the voters, but next week they vote to change that, right, open enrollment
We can
changes,
still bring this to the
we can still bring it to the voters, would it have an effect at all?
No, but yes.
No, but yes.
So it's my belief, and remember, it's me who's talking. I'm not. It's my belief that if it gets passed on Thursday, that there will be litigation.
Yeah.
So having this in place is just, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. It's
It
a safeguard.
covers it. So
it's
then
a safeguard. I
would
think.
it be safe to say if we did not put this in front of the voters and that litigation occurs, then nothing really happens, right?
Right.
I think I need to think on that for a minute.
Okay, hold please. So next I have David, then Laura, then Melissa, then Tom. Somebody over here raised their hand, and then Amanda again. Okay, Jess, other questions?
No. I need to sit with a lot of that information.
David.
Okay, I think a lot of what I wanted to say has been said by Lorna and Jessica, but I would just, again, the Amanda's issue of, students first, and I absolutely totally agree with that. The problem is this particular law could cause absolute chaos in the educational system of the entire state, causing chaos, and nobody benefits from chaos, and especially when you're trying to teach people. Losing faculty, losing people, having new people coming in, it's just a bad idea, particularly when we have absolutely, essentially no warning about this coming up, since it was simply added to, as an amendment to a completely different bill. And again, no public input or discussion on this. Now, of course, this does not preclude the opportunity to put a different warrant on the article next year once we've had a chance to try to work down our deficit and just see where on God's earth are we going to be if this actually passes. So I don't think we're closing the door on this, and I think we're absolutely putting our students first by trying to give them the most stable possible environment we possibly can.
Thank you, David. Laura?
Okay, first I'm going to say,
Make sure you talk into your microphone,
Okay.
please.
in the past, we've had situations come up, and we've worked with other districts as much as we could to work out things for students. And that has worked out fairly well. It's been kind of hard to do it sometimes because there wasn't a way to do it, but we have done it. But if we pass this, if we add this to the warrant, it'll be on the warrant for March 4th. Because it's not a money
March
issue.
5th.
March 5th. It's not a money issue, right?
Yeah, it will be on the warrant. It could be.
Because it's not a money issue, so we can add it. Okay. That's what I wanted to figure out. Okay. I mean, this is a mess.
It is a
Supposedly
mess.
there's some kind of online calculator that you can figure out how much it would cost your district. I don't know how you can do that when you don't have any numbers.
Melissa? You did. Oop, you're not on.
Sorry.
No, you are.
I think if we put this on the warrant, it does bring it to the voters, and we would get feedback from the voters about their thoughts on this. We would need to get some information out there to help support their vote on this in terms of an informed vote. I'm assuming we're going to speak to it at the meeting before it gets voted on. I think it would be good for us to get this feedback from our voters in terms of like, would they vote for it or wouldn't they? Because that's going to give us information about how we would proceed next. And I do hear the wanting to put our students first. We 100% do that already, and school choice already exists. So we do look at that. this has a financial impact to our district that could devastate us. And we may not have any control over it, even if we put it on the warrant article, but we would at least be informed about what our citizens and our community members feel in relation to this.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, when do we have to make a decision on this warrant?
Tonight.
Tonight? Okay. And I will agree with Amanda that it would have been nice to have it sooner, so that, instead of tonight, it would have been nice to gone through it. But I'd say this, this law really flips what we've been doing for years on its head. And I am just worried. I don't know what is going to happen. And I think a warrant article like this protects the district. We control the narrative. And if we don't have anything out there, we lose that control. And that worries me in the fact that every other district that I hear, they're saying nobody can leave. So I'm just worried. I want us to control the narrative, and I think that we should do something as is written here.
Amanda? Thank you, Tom. Amanda?
Thank you. I agree something has to be on the warrant article, because without it, there's no regulation. That could be devastating financially. I agree with that. I think we shouldn't just do something because other districts are doing it and saying zero out. I think we could make it as minimal as possible. I think we should offer it to 1 or 2 students. I think saying zero, there are students that would thrive better at a different district. I think saying zero just because other districts are saying zero, I don't think 1 to 2 students, even if this is a what-if scenario, I don't think letting 1 or 2 students leave is going to be a catastrophic financial impact. I think, this whole law is been put in place for some reason. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, just because other districts are saying zero out, I don't think we should follow that. I think we should at least offer it even to 1 student. How are we going to know what that looks like if we're not even no one might leave. That might not even be a scenario. But to say zero out, I am not in agreement with.
Thank you.
I'm not quite done.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I have everything. And again, without putting this out, we will not have regulation. So I do agree we need to come to a decision tonight.
Thanks. Sally?
So I just want to clarify the timetable. So this was passed of Monday of last week, is that correct? The Senate.
Wait, I don't recall when it was. It was
Right.
recent.
And we had our public hearing was Wednesday. I just want to say that the criticisms of the administration for not getting this to us until now, I think are a little bit rich, given what the administration has been doing in the last week and a half. So I just want to, I just felt that needed to be said.
Thank you, Sally.
I'd also like to make a motion that we vote in favor, that we vote on the warrant language.
As written?
As written.
Thank you. Second? Jess? Any more discussion?
Just one last thing, and Amanda, just so you know, people can leave the district and go to other schools. There's charter schools they can go to. They can possibly do tuition to other schools if they get accepted into them. But that's on their dime, and right now I'm just not ready for it to be on the district's dime right now. No. So.
Amanda?
I think that falls back, to a financial priority to not even allow 1 student to trial this. We don't even know if there's a student interested in trialing it. I think to not even allow 1 student to leave is a reflection that we're not confident in the education and any services that we could offer and provide. I would like to amend that we allow 1 student to leave to take advantage of open enrollment.
Lorna? Are you seconding her motion?
No, I guess my concern is if you say,
And-
well, we have one student, is it going to be a lottery? How are we going to, I mean, it's turning into a nightmare. I mean, because if you just say, oh, well, we just have one. So it's very hard to say, oh, no, sorry, you didn't get the lucky ticket. I mean,
If we don't have a second, then it won't go forward. So right now, the motion is to accept the warrant as written. Catherine, did you have something you wanted to say?
Just that we consulted with the legal on this warrant article, and we didn't reach the number of 0 because that's what other people have done. We reached the number of 0 under the consultation with our lawyers, which is probably why other districts are also at 0.
Thank you. So, right now, the motion is to put this warrant on the, put this article, on the warrant as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amanda? Thank you. Okay. Next is the revolving revenue fund warrant article. Thank you.
Yeah, we can. Sure. Okay.
Here, you go that side, I'll go this side.
So you're getting sort of a fresh copy, just to give a timeline of this particular warrant. I think right around Christmas time, I had a conversation with the auditor about, after hearing feedback about trying to prepare funds for the renovations of Merrimack Valley Learning Center. And so I asked him, could we create a separate fund similar to what we did for the SAU board in the retirement? He came back with some language a little while later. I sent that language to legal. On January 22nd, we had a conference call with legal team discussing what we could and couldn't do. And we asked them to prepare some language for us. That language came in at 2:15 last Wednesday, which was a little late. So the language that you see in front of you now is different than the language that was presented on last Wednesday, or at least was part of it last Wednesday. The language that you see in front of you now references the correct RSA, whereas the one from last Wednesday was from the DRA, which corresponds to things that towns can do and not school districts. So the language in front of you reflects what legal believes is correct and the one that we should use moving forward. So I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read it, so I'll give you a moment. So the basic idea behind it is that we accept revenue from out-of-district tuition placements at the Learning Center into a specific fund targeting renovations of the Learning Center. So as those funds accumulate and we have enough to complete a project, you come before the board would decide to spend the money on those, and then we would spend the money to complete the project. If for some reason the tuition doesn't come in, then we would have to put all of those projects on hold. We would not, the intent is not to begin a project and get halfway through and then go, oh, well, we're already halfway through. We then now have to go ahead and complete the rest of it. We would wait until we had the appropriate funds to complete the project, and then we would move forward. It is supposed to be self-sustaining, and one of the biggest things behind it is the fact that once the renovations are completed, we still have students coming in, we still are getting tuition. At that point, the board may entertain putting an amendment to the warrant before the voters so that we would change the use from using it for the Learning Center. We could change the purpose of that. By completing the renovations, we have an opportunity to expand what we offer at the Learning Center. I spoke with Julie earlier, so she can certainly correct me, but if we add another special education teacher and para, we could expand the number of students by 12. They may not all be out of district, but if we stay with the same basic numbers, about 7 or 8 that we have now, we're looking at an additional almost $500,000 of revenue. And that's going to continue moving forward. So I know that there was talk and the decision was made by the board to keep the Learning Center the way it is now with the hopes of renovating it. At one point there was talk about selling it. I think it was $1 million approximately. So that $1 million that we would get in the sale would probably cover 1 year of students we'd have to move out of district and pay for that. So you get a 1-year return. By completing this project and doing it with this fund, I think that the return could be self-sustaining for years to come.
Can you confirm the RSA number for me?
Whatever's written.
1943-C.
Yeah, whatever's written on there.
Okay.
I'd have to. Yep.
And who sent you that RSA? I'm asking because I'm looking at it, and
You have to be careful with RSAs when you Google them because they reuse them.
Fun.
And so you literally have to put RSA.
I just learned that today.
It's happened where I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's not the one that I'm looking for.
Because I was confused.
Yes.
Now that I know that, I'm going to pause for a second.
They could have. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not the same. I'm going to pause for a second.
And I'll look right now just to reconfirm with what the lawyer sent us.
Go ahead, Tom.
So just a quick question. What's a revolving fund?
So that's really the name of it based on the RSA. So it just is revolving. So you would continue to take money in, just like a revolving credit. You could then put money out. The difference is it targets specifically for the out-of-district tuition. And we have to use those funds, the board does, for the Learning Center only. You couldn't use them for other projects based on the language of the warrant.
Okay, Tracy, I have quite a bit of thoughts about this, but I know some people have questions, and I'll wait till people's questions are taken. Yeah.
Okay. I talk a lot. Does somebody else have any questions they want to ask? Okay.
Wait, can you hold on 1 second?
Of course.
I was gone. Was there somebody before Jess or Tom? Okay, thank you.
Procedural questions for you. So if we were to put this forth to the voters and they approved it, at what point would this fund be opened? Are we talking the next fiscal year or right away?
That seems to make the most sense because we already have tuition that has come in. We wouldn't strip it away from this budget, but we would have to confirm with legal just to make sure.
Just to make sure. Or we could also, I assume, open it and leave it empty until we are ready to, saying that if we're not going to do it right now.
Well, the way it's written means when we accept,
As soon as you
but we've already entered into agreements for those, so the plan is for next
It would
fiscal
be
year.
Next fiscal year. Okay, that's very helpful. So can you help me understand how these tuition payments are received and how this would be funded, right? Do we receive, unless it's of course subject to your agreement with other districts, is this like a twice a year thing or once a month or one payment? Like, how does this work?
They're typically monthly payments to the district.
And then if we were to open this fund, those monthly payments, would they go through normal revenue streams and then be placed into this fund, or would they go straight to this fund?
Well, everything that comes in goes into our account, and then we would distribute them to those particular funds.
Okay. Those are just the procedural questions I have now. I have other thoughts, but I will hold for a bit to process that.
Tom?
Okay. I'll start that I am opposed to this. We voted in November on if we were going to raise funds for the Learning Center, which was a 7 to 10 year plan of a $5 million. We've had 6 finance meetings since that vote. Not once did this topic come up. We never discussed it. It was never mentioned in a finance meeting. I've been telling people that I meet in the street, and then in my presentations and in this board meeting on January 5th, we have 4 financial warrants. And I know some people don't think this is a financial warrant, but it is. It is. At the other meeting, the other night, it was said, well, this won't have an impact on the voters. It absolutely does. So if you go back to that slide that I had, where here was the operating budget minus state aid minus revenues. This is revenue. So when you take away revenue, that appropriation or that taxation number increases. In Pennacook, you're on the hook for 33% of it because you have 33% of the population. So this absolutely affects the voters. I feel like this is coming in at the last minute. And I'll go back to what you said just a little while, or what Tracy said a little while ago. You know, we spent a lot of time in the finance committee, and we were talking about the open enrollment, and we don't have $100,000. Well, we budgeted for revenue $170,000 for tuition. We have $490,000 coming in. So you take that 490, subtract the 170, you get $320,000 left. That's not going back in this year to offset the deficit. I mean, we owe $1 million still. I think this is really, really bad timing. I still don't know if we even have a construction plan of this is what we're going to do, and this is when we're going to do it, and this is how much we expect to do it. I just think this came in at the 11th hour, and it is going to have an impact on our taxpayers. I think this is the wrong year to do this, and I think if we bring this in now, I think it affects the possibility of the operating budget and the CBA getting passed. I think it's, I've said enough.
Melissa, and then David, and then Amanda.
So just for clarification, we're not talking about this fund being funded for the upcoming school year that we're building the budget for. This wouldn't impact next year's budget. It would actually impact the following year's budget in terms of we would not be able to budget in that tuition as a revenue source.
No, the way it's written is it would begin with July 1st of 2026.
Okay. All right. I guess I misunderstood that. And I do think that this conversation has come up when we were talking about discussing Washington Street School and how the renovations could be funded. So I do not feel like this was a surprise in terms of like the thought about how to do it. I will say that it was a surprise for me to see it as a warrant article, but I don't feel like we haven't had a little bit of heads up that this was the way we were leaning towards thinking about how to fund the renovations at that building. But thank you for your clarification.
David's next.
Well, that was my question. Exactly, is when does this take effect? Because the budget presentation that the finance committee and Tom have been doing was based upon the revenue coming in. So it sounds like that's not the case, that actually would be impacting this year's budget and not next year's budget. Did I hear that correctly?
You mean this year's budget is in 25-26?
I mean, the budget that we're asking the voters to approve on.
That's next year, so that'd be 26-27. That it would have an impact then.
Okay. All right. I think I strongly support the Merrimack Valley Learning Center. I strongly support this way of funding it so it does not impact our property tax payers. But I think it's going to look like that we misled them. And I think that could be a problem.
Thank you, David. Amanda?
I'll start by saying that I strongly support the program as well. I need to go back and listen to the meeting for exact verbiage that I'm about to reference. I voted no to this back in November, I believe, in fear of this exact situation and complete lack of a plan for this. When we voted for this project, again, I don't have the exact verbiage, but much was being said in support of a yes vote, that extra tuition that it would bring in would go to the general fund. Again, I need to go listen. I'm going to go listen for the exact words. But the convincing factor was the tuition it would bring in to our district. And I believe many voted yes, with that being a strong detail.
Thank you, Amanda. Jess?
I would invite folks to go back and listen, because in committee we discussed that the offsetting of the expansions or expansions maintenance was going to be from tuition. That was very clear from the beginning. I just want to make that clear.
You're talking about a facilities committee.
The facilities committee, yes.
Thank you.
And then brought forth to the board. Now, along with, the plans and all that kind of thing of like what it's going to look like in the next few years. That being said, I had some concerns about being clear with how these funds were coming in and being expended. So I do like the idea of having a clear fund to show people we're pulling in X students. This is how many, this is how much money are in the account, and then expending it out as required by the facilities department. Can you remind me how many students in the revenue, in the revenue presentation were included on the numbers? How many students were you budgeting for in revenues?
We didn't talk about number of students. We increased from 100,000 that we traditionally use to 170,000. So we basically added a whole student, but the other 100 obviously didn't account for whole students.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true.
Sorry.
No, I'm done. That was the only question I had. Is I'm trying to grasp.
So if,
this.
Laura, I'll add you after me. So if we were to take the first 170,000 and put it into the general fund, which is what the finance committee had for revenue, and then we could put if we have other students come in, we can put the remaining into starting the revolving fund. Could we do that with the way that it's worded here?
I don't believe so. That would be a better question for legal.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a plan. That it was outlined, I think, by Fred. There is a CIP for the Learning Center outlining which projects should be done first. I know they talked about HVAC and
the elevator,
kind of in conjunction with the elevator.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, I know.
If you want me to read it.
Yeah.
No, there is a plan. Definitely, there is a plan. Tom.
So I would say that plan was not communicated at our meeting in November, because what was said is, first of all, our superintendent and facilities director disagreed on when it would start. And it was said that, yes, we would do the elevator and the HVAC system, and then after that, whatever comes up. That's not a plan, but that's what was said. If there's a written plan, I haven't seen it. And I would say that $490,000 is awful close to 1% of an increase in the budget. So that 3.38 that we work so hard at is really going to be 4.38.
Oh, Laura, I'm sorry. You were right here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I totally skipped over you. I had already checked you off, Laura. Sorry.
Okay, if this article passes, okay, it was covered like renovations and the things we looked and talking about. the regular budget would still cover like utilities,
Yes.
and if a new computer or something like that, I mean, the ordinary everyday expenses
Yes.
would be covered in the regular budget, okay.
Yes. Amanda?
Does anyone know what the first date of communication regarding this article was amongst staff or whomever submitted this article?
It was probably Wednesday.
That this idea was proposed?
We got the language from the attorneys at 2:15 on Wednesday.
Okay. When did you first submit it to the attorneys?
We had a meeting with them on January 22nd, and that's when we asked for their language. I'd emailed them, I don't know, probably right after Christmas break, because the sentiment was that we needed to get a plan. That's what we heard from the public. We needed a plan. So the plan to memorialize the funds in this revolving account was developed.
And was this ever discussed with the finance committee of the effect it would hold on the upcoming budget?
No.
Okay.
Jessica? Then David.
So reading the article as written, right? Would it, because I too share some concern with it being super quick. Would it be detrimental to the current plan? Because I have been in communications with Fred about this, asking over time where he was on the planning for this part for the Washington Street School or Learning Center, and would it be detrimental if we amended it as written right now to start not this fiscal year, but next fiscal year, so that it gives people time and then we have another year to budget for it? Or would that be too, like, what would you say to that?
I think if you're not going to go forward with the warrant article, then you vote it down and you don't move forward. And then if you want to give people more time and you want to bring it back, then we start the process earlier next year and get the communication out. That would be, this is me talking.
Yeah.
Legally, I would hesitate to amend
something that legal put forth.
Anything that the attorney sent us without vetting it through them.
So as a business administrator, if we were to just say, let's hold until next year, is that
doesn't affect my job one way or another.
I know, but I want to understand, like, is this, because I know that, Fred has been working through this. Would this cause any issue with any upcoming projects within the next couple years?
Based on all the conversations that I saw at facilities and then again at the board, it seemed like the sentiment was to use tuition money to fund these projects.
So could, like, say by some miracle.
So next year, this is me thinking, you could still use the tuition payments.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
next
ask.
year.
Okay.
Because you have discussed this as a board that was the avenue that you were going to go down. Now, you would have to decide that. I think the idea behind this is to make sure that all of the funds were secured and it rolled over year after year until you had enough. But again, it's really up to all of you as the board whether you want to move forward or not.
Yep. Okay.
David?
I certainly want to move forward with this, but I think that what Jessica just said was what I was thinking, is that maybe we establish the fund and educate the public, establish the fund, and then start putting money in it, not this upcoming fiscal year, but the following fiscal year. We're keeping our promise that we made at all the public hearings, and so we're not doing tricky stuff. We're not being untransparent or anything. And also, Fred has talked a lot about grants and other sources. This is not the only revenue source we're going to be counting on. It's going to be a critical part, certainly. And this is how it will be eventually self-funding. And of course, the whole reason we did that was to not hit the property taxpayers any more than we absolutely had to, which was a real big part of our concern. So that's what I would be comfortable with.
So what I'm hearing from you, David, is that you would like to amend this document, this warrant, by eliminating Article 7. Is that your motion?
I'm of two minds. So, here's our.
I'm ready
two
to second you.
Here's our possibility. One, we could just simply drop it for now and just talk about it over the course. Get articles out in the Monitor. Let people know that this is what we're doing, so that it's not a surprise. But of course, we have talked about this repeatedly. We've had numerous meetings that were completely open to the public. People were welcome to come. We did have folks coming. We had a lot of people who did come strongly support this. We could simply add that, say that as written, and simply add starting with the 2007, 2008.
I don't think that we can.
Okay, then I would say my amendment would be to drop this until next year.
So David, the motion from David is to eliminate Article 7 from the warrant, seconded by Melissa. Any more discussion?
Can we roll call that one?
We can roll call.
I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Can I ask one question?
You can ask 5 questions. It's okay.
What is the turnaround time for a verbiage change to the attorney?
I'm sorry, Amanda.
What is the turnaround time if you were to request a verbiage change to the attorney?
The deadline to post the warrants, I believe, let me pull up my calendar, is the 18th of February. I don't hold out a lot of hope that they're going to get back to us prior to that. Plus, I have to have all of you sign this before we post it. So I think the turnaround time would prevent that.
Okay. Yeah, my thought process was, do we hold another
Thanks.
meeting? But
Thank you, Amanda. Anyone else? So the motion is to eliminate Article 7 from the warrant as printed, the draft warrant. Thank you. And the request was for a roll call. Candy?
Tracy Bricky?
Yes.
Sally Hirsch Dickinson?
No.
Tom LaLiberty?
Yes.
You're stumbling over that today.
They're class.
Take your time.
Melissa Muzzy?
Yes to striking it. I had to think about how I need to pronounce that.
Jessica Wheeler Russell? Yes. Laura Vincent?
No.
David Nesbitt?
Yes.
Lorna Carlisle?
Yes.
Amanda York?
yes.
What was the vote? 7 to 2. So it will be struck. Okay. Next, the remaining articles by petition.
Can I make a point that was not listed on our, I was about to.
What?
To amend, that was not listed on the agenda as the remaining articles that I have here.
No.
In my packet. So-
I was just going to say, the remaining articles are by petition. They're not the will of the board. We do not discuss these or speculate. So with the exception of SB 2, all of them are advisory only. So.
Can I ask a question, though? I feel like we had some folks who have had questions about this on the school board. I think just some procedural questions. Am I correct in that statement? That would
What?
like to discuss the other warrant articles? Or?
No, we're not discussing the other warrant articles.
Why not?
Because they are petition warrant articles and we don't need to discuss them.
I think it would, so what I was about leading into was actually amending the agenda to discuss just a discussion for questions of the warrant articles. That's what I was leading into.
So you want to amend the agenda?
I do.
I'll second it.
I have a question about, like, who's going to speak to these articles, because they were petitioned. So do we have representatives here?
Well, no, we're not. Don't forget, this is a meeting of
The board, right,
It's
so-
not a meeting of the public.
And
so
respectfully, I know I have some questions about where people can find certain things. So it's like, this is the kind of things that I'm looking to discuss. But I mean, I put it out there. We have a second. Folks can vote yea or nay as they see fit. So
Okay.
and all that
So the motion is, should we amend the agenda to add discussion of the petitioned warrant articles? We do need to discuss the SB2 warrant article only because that does involve us going to a number of meetings. But, so, the petitioned warrant articles, those in favor of discussing the petitioned warrant articles, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay.
I do appreciate it, and I understand if folks, if the answer is I don't know, that's acceptable. Okay, so I wanted to ask about Article 10, Article 10, which is about the Salisbury and Webster questions. My question is, the latest information that the school board has is the small school study that was done in the year 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the most recent information other than yearly class sizes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no other understanding that this was a petition warrant article, so the school district was not going to be able to come up with more studies in less than 30 days.
Mm-mm.
So that is the latest information that folks have, along with state guidance on certain, procedures around class sizes and those kinds of things, and the current student data, like numbers,
Mhm.
correct? And they can find that all under reports and studies,
Yes, under the.
under
so if
school
you-
board,
Under
reports
school
and
board.
studies.
Reports and studies.
Okay.
And both of the
Mhm.
small school studies are listed there.
Yes, from 2013 and 2021. I've been
Right.
reading them.
Yep.
So that's the only kind of like question I had for now. But
Mhm.
if other folks had other questions.
Lorna?
So the thing I was just wondering about, though, if this got approved by the voters, it just means that we would look
Mhm.
at this. It's not a mandate to say you will merge.
Petitioned warrant articles, they're advisory only.
And it's not even the they're asking
us.
The board would consider if they even want to do the study again.
And
It's
if
not-
yeah.
It's not that we have to look at,
Mm-hmm.
like, that we have to look at merging. The board would first have to tackle, do we want to move forward with what it's asking us to do?
Yeah. Essentially, the way I would foresee this is it would be another study.
Right.
Like
But I
we
mean, it seems to me if the public voted yes in the majority, then it would be our obligation at least to kind of then do a study.
So that would
see
be a decision
the
for the
feasibility.
board to make. The board would have to make that
We'd
decision.
have to talk about that after.
Okay.
After we know what the outcome of the vote is. Anything else? David?
Just a quick question. How much did we have to spend for the last study?
Oh, boy.
I don't know. I think it was like $30,000.
It was. I feel like it was 25 or 30. But
25 or 30.
'Cause
We-
that was 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a few years ago, so
Inflation.
asterisks.
And what happened was we had started out with a certain amount of money and we couldn't get the study done for that amount of money and we had to raise and appropriate more.
It was a chunk.
So, other questions? Okay, the only other one is the SB2. Did you want to say anything about SB2?
Well, I think we have our schedule planned out. If anyone's
Everybody knows when they're going to be attending the meetings, right? They are next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, following Monday and Tuesday. 5:30 p.m.
And they're all at the elementary school?
They're all at the elementary. Well, no.
Pennacook is here.
Well,
Pennacook
yeah.
is here.
Oh.
And,
Sorry.
that's it, right? The rest of them are at the other schools, yes.
All right, so that's at the elementary.
All at 5:30. Any other questions?
Can we just talk about what SB2 is and how it differs from a town meeting, a traditional town?
That's what we'll do on the meetings, yes. That's our job. That's why we have to have those meetings in all the towns.
Okay.
Okay, next, manifest and journal entries. I electronically signed it, and I'm assuming Melissa electronically signed it. So, I need a motion to accept the manifest and journal entries. David, second, Tom. Any discussion about them? Okay, all those in favor of the manifest and journal entries that you received in email, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okey doke. Assistant Super Report.
Sure. So, Kid Governor Liv Sayre-Crete of Boscawen Elementary School and Kid Executive Council member Lauren, we met her here. She's from Webster Elementary. Were sworn into their positions at the State House on January 27th. The governor, leaders of the House and Senate, as well as the Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court and our school board chair were all in attendance. The BES choir performed, and unfortunately, this happened on our delayed opening after the large snowstorm. The intention had been for us to have her classmates attend. A number of families brought the students there on that day because of the delay. We weren't able to do that, so.
We couldn't bus them. It was really too bad.
Yeah.
They were so darn cute, though.
They
And
really were.
and Liv didn't throw up on the governor's shoes like the previous year.
Go Liv. Didn't know that. Liv is going to be featured in some of the upcoming Granite State Challenge episodes. She's posing civics-related questions to contestants. I wanted to touch on something that I think Silas mentioned, the Leaders in Prevention from the middle school. We sent a group to Camp Cody for that training, recognizing that one of the board and SAU goals is transitions. Andover also sent a group there as well. So it was not only an opportunity for their leadership skills to be developed, but for some transition, I won't say activities, but transition connections to be made between the two schools. Our math specialist, Jess Jocks, is taking a team of elementary teachers to Dunbarton Elementary School to present on our practices and curriculum that we use here in this district. And Randy and I are currently wrapping up our mid-year check-ins with administrators. And next week, the admin team is going to be presenting out on their building at our leadership meeting at their on their building progress towards the NEWA growth goal that we've talked about. So that is it for my report. Yeah, it was pretty fantastic.
It was pretty fantastic, yes. So, the superintendent is not here today. We do have reason to go into non-public session under, pardon me?
Public comment.
Oh, I'm telling you. Jeez Louise. So, we will go into non-public as soon as public comment's done.
Julie Ned Webster. Just want to touch on the open enrollment. I was a little surprised I didn't actually see this on the warrant last week because this didn't just start last week with the Senate. This actually started probably about a year ago with, I think it was either Epsom or Pittsfield and Prospect Mountain, which then made the state kind of fix their language and make it, so school districts could understand what it actually said. So from what I understand from what I've been following for months is if we didn't put a policy in place, this year, this warrant, we were going to be beholden to what the Senate is trying to do anyway. If that's what I've been reading up on. So I'm glad to see it, but I really feel like this should have been on there already.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody else for public comment?
So I just want to say thank you
Name?
for Therese Bastarash, Loudon, New Hampshire, and sorry that I couldn't make it to the budget meeting. I appreciate I did watch online, but had to be out at work, so hopefully my phone doesn't ring while I'm up here. On the open enrollment, I'm confused a little bit. I would think that the Department of Education, the commissioner, would give some sort of guidance should this go through the State House. And to me, the State House, we elect those representatives. Those are the voice of the voters, and whatever is decisioned there, I think, should be respected. I do question if we're going to spend a lawsuit and sue against the opportunity for that money to follow the child, potentially to a different district. I mean, it seems like with the Learning Center, we're okay with kids coming to us because we can use that money to do upgrades and facilities. But if a particular child needs to go out of district, again, there's no transportation, so I can't imagine there's going to be a huge exodus unless that other district truly has something for that child that benefits them, just like the Learning Center children coming our direction. So I'm really concerned with kind of hearing what I'm hearing tonight about the open enrollment, and again, it being last minute. I do like the fact that the board decided to maybe wait until next year and kind of figure out the Washington Street and really have the pulse of the people. The one thing that I didn't hear in the budget that I was a little bit, wish I would have heard, was we really stressed as voters that we wanted to see every, at least the major contracts go out to open bid this past year. And I-91A, did we have one contract, one significant contract in the district go out to open bid to try and save the taxpayer money? And I've gotten no response to that question. So I just really feel like we're still not necessarily doing everything we can. And I'm here to tell you homelessness is the highest rate of increase of anywhere else in the nation. And we have families, we own busters, we have people living out of their cars who are working full-time that have kids. We have to be careful about how we're spending money right now. We just do. And then on the special ed, I didn't know, poor Amanda, because I'm in Loudon, I've been knocking on her door left and right. And so if she's asking you questions, it's probably me that you have to be upset with, not her. But my question is, why is special ed such a hardship on all these school districts? Because I've done a lot of research and diligence. And if that child is on Medicaid, which most of them probably are, that is billable. Those are services we're already paying out of our paycheck to the federal government to cover that speech and that OT and that para and that transportation. And is it just that we're concerned that we can't ask the families what insurance they hold? I mean, I think we could craft a really professional letter that says, hey, if your child's on Medicaid.
Therese, that's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have public comment? Okay, so now we'll go in.
Hold on.
Oh.
We're going to close public comment.
Oh, all right. Jeez Louise.
It's late.
We wants to respond to one of the questions.
Okay, we're going to, thank you. We are going to close open up, excuse me. We're going to close, I don't know what the heck we're doing. No, we're going to close public comment right now.
Okay, how about a 5-minute break?
Nope.
Hold on.
Julie would like to respond to something.
We can answer one of the questions that came up. Yes, I can answer the Medicaid question. So we have 616 students today who are on IEPs. 321 of them receive billable services, which means that they receive either occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language services, or have paraprofessional support that is medically necessary. The remaining balance of those students receive instructional services only, which are not billable. So any service that's provided by a special ed teacher is not billable under Medicaid. It's only those related services that are required due to a potentially a health-related condition. So 616 students, 321 of them receive billable services. 318 of those 321 we bill for. When this question was asked, we discovered that there were 3 students that we did not have the consent in place for. And so we figured out why we didn't, and we got right on top of it. And so hopefully within the next week or so, we will have 100% parent consent to bill for those 321 students. And in looking back for those 3 students that we were not able to bill for the last 12 months, the total amount of missed reimbursement was $116.96.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, now we're going to take a little break to go into non-public session under RSA 91A:3, I. And we need a roll call to do that?
Tracy Brickey,
Yes.
Sally Hirsch Dickinson,
Yes.
Tom LaLiberty,
Yes.
Melissa Muzzy,
Yes.
Jessica Wheeler Russell, Laura Vincent,
Yes.
David Nesbitt, Lorna Carlisle,
Yes.
Amanda York.